This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas.
Prabhupada was planning a project that was far bigger than ever had been attempted by anyone else.
Temple like this has never been built for hundreds of years. We want to make this like a gem.
Prabhupada wanted to build a planetarium because he wanted to prove to the whole world that the Big Bang theory is wrong and Krishna is the cause of all causes.
I have the pleasure of welcoming businessman and philanthropist Anand Poddar ji with me here at ITV studio. Namaskar.
Namaskar ji.
So businessman and sadhu both sounds like words coming from two different spheres of creation, but they both merge and kind of stay in harmony in you. Tell us about what is it that came first, devotee, philanthropist or businessman?
You know, you're so right when you say that, because growing up as a rich man's son, I thought of becoming everything in life. I was a very good-looking boy, and a lot of girls were after me in college, and I thought maybe I should even become a movie actor, a businessman. I was studying sociology. I was coming to America for studies. But never ever did it cross my mind that I should become a sadhu. So becoming a sadhu in my life was a sudden change. It was almost as though something from above, a blessing from above came into my life. I was very confused when I was 22 years old, had just studied sociology from Bombay St. Xavier's College. Had returned home, my father was asking me to join business. And I wanted more in life. I wanted to either study or look around. And that is when I met this one devotee, an American young man who had come to my father's house. And he was asking for some help because there was floods in this place called Mayapur. Mayapur is in Nadia district. It is in Bengal, and it happens to be the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the world headquarters of ISKCON. And he had come to my father. My father was a wealthy businessman, and he had come to him for help, money. And that's when I met him, and I started to ask him questions about Bhagavad Gita and his beliefs. My family was Vaishnavas. My mother had deities of Krishna in her house. Always pujaris were coming and sadhus were coming, kirtan was going on. But never ever anyone had explained the teachings of Bhagavad Gita to me in a manner that this young person, a sadhu from America, was explaining to me.
We are actually standing at the moment where the actual gardens will be for the big temple. There'll be beautiful ponds and beautiful roadways and trees and flower beds everywhere.
Temple of Vedic Planetarium is something really astonishing, because in the history of mankind there isn't anything like that.
Mayapur is the home for all devotees. This is the birthplace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so the mercy here is very easy to obtain.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Most of us are confronting some or the other limitations, and many times you find many people end up struggling to provide for their family or taking care of the basic comforts. So the point where one would say that actual living starts, many people have not even reached to that stage. And since you had everything, you had those questions which are probably cream of living in a way. So going back to this gentleman who stayed with you 13 days, and what was the essence of that which was exchanged between
As a young man, the first thing he taught me, that he said in the second chapter of Gita, Krishna is explaining very explicitly this one phenomenon, that you are not this body. He said, let's start from here and understand this one fact, that you are not this body. I said, how am I not this body? He said, because you had a 10-year-old child's body. a 1-year-old child's body. What happened? Now you're 22 years old. Where is that body? Where is that mind? Where is that intelligence? Where are those desires that were there in yourself 10 years ago? Everything is going through a constant change. But yet, if somebody sees you after 20 years, he will recognize you to be the same person. So then you remain, you keep your identity at the same time, your body, your mind, your intelligence, your desires, everything is constantly changing. And that, as an intelligent man, as a young man, that struck me. I said, oh my God, I know nobody is ever teaching me like this, that I am not this body. So he said in the same way, in the Gita, Krishna is explaining, if you are not this body and you are constantly changing while you are in this body, then when you leave this body, you will take another body. So are you preparing yourself to take that other body, or are you just living this life? And then the other fact that he told me, he said, what is the difference between you and an animal? I said, how can you call me an animal? And he said, no, the animal is eating and you are eating. The animal is having sex and you are having sex. The animal is sleeping, the animal is defending, and you are doing everything. So what is the difference? The only difference is that you have the capacity to inquire. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Who am I and where am I going next? What is the purpose of my life? And that is what got me very inquisitive into the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. And that is the main chapter. Krishna has devoted the entire second chapter to this one fact. You are not this body, and then what is the purpose of your life? That is when my spiritual life started.
Wonderful. What is the purpose of this life is the key question, and who am I is also the key question. And these key questions many times keep us away from them because we are running after the immediate concerns that we have. And sometimes there are some passions that sort of holds us tight in a way, and some attachments. But moving forward, talking about the entrepreneurship that is there in Anand Poddar ji, and a wonderful name which you would come about very rarely of any company. So his company is called Sacred Thread.
Yes.
Now, how did you came up with this name? And you were very much into practicing devotional aspect in your life, and how this business started growing.
I was a young man of 22 when I became a sadhu and lived in Mayapur, which was a very remote place. Practiced celibacy, practiced austerity, and doing full-time service in the ashram. But then when I was 27 years of age, my mother very much desired that I should get married. And in the organization that I am in ISKCON, yes, our Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, he did have men and women marry so they could live a very legitimate life. So at the age of 27, she approached my guru and she requested that I should get married. And so my guru, he would travel all over the world. He found an appropriate bride for me. And it was a complete arranged marriage. I saw my wife literally 48 hours before our wedding. So even though coming from a background like St. Xavier's College and Doon School, because of my training in the ashram, I was able to have that faith in my guru and accept whoever he gave me as a wife. After that, as you know, children are to be born and a grihastha life is to be lived. So I started a small business in the ashram in Mayapur for 10 years. And then there was an opportunity in 1992 for me to come to America and do some more propagation work, preaching work for ISKCON Society, which I did in Los Angeles for 2.5, 3 years. And then because I had children, I looked for an opportunity for business. I started very small. I used to bring in some garments from India, and then I would go out on weekends on the streets, and I would literally hog them. And so whatever little money I made, that was with which I would provide for my children. And then that business just grew. And being an entrepreneur, my family members were entrepreneurs. My father was a very big businessman. I guess that was in my karma, it was in my blood. So the business grew very big. And now I have 20 employees, and we live in Florida. It's a wholesale garment business. We purchase goods from China, Thailand, and from India. And I have a system that whatever country I buy clothing from, I donate 5% of the entire purchasing to some charitable cause in that country. That is my gratitude to that countryman. So either I would feed the children there, or I would help the temple there, or do something. Coming back to this idea of sacred threads, we as devotees, we wear a thread called janeu, or poita in Bengali. So this janeu in English translates to sacred threads. Sacred is a nice name. It means pure, it means hip, it means so many things in America. So I kind of blended it both, and I thought sacred threads would always remind me of my culture, my philosophy, and what I am supposed to follow. And at the same time, it would give the American public to whom I'm selling the clothing a nice word. Sacred threads means very wonderful clothes, almost as good as sacred.
Mayapur is the heart and the home of the Sankirtan movement. It's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's home, and it's where the spiritual world has descended to the material plane and continues to touch the material plane, and therefore energizes us, especially when we chant Hare Krishna in front of Panchatattva.
Hare Rama, Hare
Rama. This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas.
The temple that we're building will have the largest kirtan hall in the world. It's over 1.5 acres. So for people to come and experience that is extremely important.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
What we want is that this Adbhut Mandir, or this extraordinary temple, should be built in an extraordinary way. Mayapur is actually the hub or the foundation of the entire ISKCON movement, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Its founder, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he came to America in 1965, completely penniless. He came with $5. He did not know whether to turn right or left when he landed here in Boston. He insisted with one shipping magnate, Mrs. Murarji Desai, the Sindhia shipping company, and she gave him a fare on her ship to come here. His Guru Maharaj Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he had actually asked him to preach the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and the Sanatan philosophy in the English language. Taking that challenge, he came here. He established Krishna consciousness. He spoke to the American boys and girls. He was able to convince them of the philosophy and get a following. But then he always yearned to go back to India and establish Krishna consciousness in a proper way for the Indian public, to let them know that if the Americans and the Britishers and the Europeans can take this up in such a serious manner, why are you forgetting your own culture? Why are you forgetting your own philosophy? And for this, he established Bombay Temple, which is a very big temple at this time. He established a temple in Vrindavan, which is the birthplace of Lord Krishna. And he wanted a very large temple in Mayapur, because Mayapur is the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the avatar of Krishna 500 years ago, and he came here to propound the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita in a very simple and a wonderful way, especially telling the people of Kali Yuga that you should do Harinam Kirtan. And Harinam Kirtan is the way to purify your soul, a very simple method, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did that. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to preach this, for which he wanted to establish a temple very, very large, because with a very large monument, he felt the world would get their attention diverted towards Mayapur and wonder, what is this monument representing? So this is something that he asked Mr. Alfred Ford, who is the great-grandson of Henry Ford, the Ford Motor Company. He is a disciple and a follower of Srila Prabhupada for the last 45 years. He had asked him that you please help me with this project. So 8 years ago, Mr. Ford put a lot of his money. He has put in almost $30 million into this project. The total cost of this project is $75 million. The balance $45 million we want that it should come from everybody. Everyone should participate in building this very pure, wonderful monument that will stand as a foundation, as a representation of something that is very pure, the pure bhakti philosophy. So we have actually devised a plan that 300,000 square feet is what we need. If 300,000 people participate by giving 1 square foot donation, which is only $150, then we will get that $45 million that we need. And I have taken it up upon myself to go out and give this message to the people and collect this $45 million from the devotees of Krishna, from people who want this pure philosophy preached, and people are responding. So this is the latest work that I'm doing for the last 7-8 months. I'm traveling all over the world and we are talking about this 1 square foot idea.
Srila Prabhupada asked me to help finance this temple. So far I've put in about $23 million. Right now we're kind of moving from phase 1 into phase 2. We're asking devotees from around the world and well-wishers from around the world to please come and help us participate in completing this temple.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.
Srila Prabhupada said, sources of fund means that we collect all over the world. And he also said, all of our branches will gladly contribute.
We have divided up the construction of this temple into square footage. So the total construction of this temple is 425,000 square feet. That's how big it's going to be. Half is already built. The other half, now we need 250,000 square feet to be constructed. So we're looking for those 250,000 enthusiastic devotees, spiritualists, people of humanity to come forward and donate $150, which is the cost of construction. Here, with $150, you practically can own 1 square foot of this great temple that will stand generations after generations.
Talking especially about Yamuna River, and Yamuna River has attracted your attention in a way which is difficult to comprehend. You went out of your way, and for 17 nights you were sleeping on the pavement also, probably.
Yes.
Something like that. Share with us about the movement dedicated to purification of Yamuna.
I have been associated with ISKCON Society, as you know, for the last 37 years. And because of which I have been going to Vrindavan. Vrindavan is the place where Lord Krishna performed all his childhood pastimes. And all Vaishnavas, they all go to Vrindavan. So I have also, as a young man, been going to Vrindavan. And I have been watching the condition of the Jamuna. And as you know, in Kali Yuga, religion is the topmost priority that gets neglected. It always gets neglected. And there always has to be a certain amount of people who have to awaken the populace at large and tell them that, look, this is getting neglected. If this is your dharma, then you must not neglect. Just like if you have a home, every person who's a devotee of Krishna or a Hindu, he would make a temple in his home. But if your temple room is neglected, it is not clean, the deity is not taken care of, then that is not a sign of good devotion. So when I was spending time in Vrindavan in the last 10 years, I spent especially a lot of time in Barsana, Vrindavan, associating with the resident sadhus there, learning philosophy from them. The first project I was given was by this one saint who lives in Barsana called Sri Ramesh Baba Maharaj. And he talked to me and other people about how the hills of Vrindavan were getting broken, dynamited, and used as stone chips for construction of roads, highways, and buildings. And he said, these are all very sacred mountains, and these are all our heritage. So if these mafia people, they are going to break these mountains, then we will have no heritage. So I actually became a key person, and with the entire team of Barsana, fought the mafia for 10 years. It was a dangerous thing to do because mafia, they have their vested interest and they can go to any extent. But we did get success. Along with Ramesh Baba and 5,000 of us, we sat on fast unto death for 48 hours, and the entire Brajvasis, they helped us. And the chief minister of Rajasthan at that time, Mr. Galot, yes, he invited me, and I was leading the entire team. So I got his telephone call, I remember, at 7 o'clock in the evening. And he said, you come to my house tonight and I want to talk to you. So I made a delegation of 15 people, reached his house at 1 o'clock at night. And we told him the entire thing firsthand, that this is what's happening. Under your nose, the mafia are breaking the sacred hills of Braj, and you better do something about it. Next day at 7 in the morning, it was Sunday, 7 in the morning he had the Sachivali opened. He invited he asked all the concerned ministers to come there, the secretaries to come there, and he wrote up an order saying that none of these things should be broken anymore, and he put it under what is called a forest department, a protected forest department, and that is it's a clause where you cannot break anything. And by evening 7 o'clock he had the paper for us. He spoke to all of us, all 5,000 of us on the mic, and that's how we won. We had it declared as protected forest. And soon after that, 2.5 years ago, same Ramesh Baba Maharaj, he spoke to us about the Jamuna, and he was speaking for many years. And he said, the Jamuna, something has to be done. We investigated the condition of Jamuna. It is all there in the government websites. And Jamuna, right now, 3 billion liters of sewage, pure sewage of Delhi, is all being dumped into the riverbed of Jamuna. This is the situation. And 94% of the Jamuna water has been stopped at Hathni Kund, 200 kilometers north of Delhi, and is being taken up by Haryana district. And they are using it for irrigation. They are supplying this Jamuna water to Gurgaon, Sonipat, Pani, all these places. And the Braj is getting not a drop of Jamuna water in the 9 months of the year. The 3 months, of course, when there is a lot of rains and monsoons, they are forced to open the dams and they give us the water. But 9 months, so many people are coming to Braj. There are 8 million tourists and devotees that come to Braj. They take bath in the Jamuna, they do achaman, they bottle the water, take it home, not knowing it is pure sewage water of Delhi. So you cannot do this kind of work. Ye atyachar hai or nirachar hai. So we fought against it. We walked from Allahabad to Delhi. It was a 950 kilometer walk. It took us 1.5 months. We were 2,500 people. We were farmers, devotees, sadhus, and we had a peace march. And while we were walking, the press picked up on it. And then we told the press the entire truth of what's going on with the Jamuna. It's completely a dead river. You've stolen her. So then the press helped us. And throughout that 2.5 years at Keshi Ghat, right on the banks of the Jamuna in Vrindavan, we had Akhanda Kirtan, 24 hours Kirtan, just as a protest. This year in March, on the 1st of March, we walked from Mathura and Vrindavan all the way to Delhi. It took us 15 days. We started with 100,000 people. Brajbasis helped us. Many Vaishnavas came from Gujarat and other places. And Kisans came to help us also. And we got to Delhi and we camped out there. By the time we got to Delhi, we were about 20,000 people. But we camped out and the press helped us, the television helped us, and they took up this issue as a serious matter. And at that time, the government, the Congress government, they actually acted on this matter. Before this, we had met with Sonia Gandhi a couple of times, and we had told her that, look, this is very wrong. And you are in power with Haryana, your government is in power in Delhi, you can do something about it. She did take it seriously, but somehow no action was taken. But when we went with so many people and the press was behind us, she immediately told Harish Rawat, the water resource minister right now, he said, you please immediately do something and see what you can do for them. And Harish Rawat sat in meetings with us for 3 days and 3 nights and actually was able to give us, along with the environment minister, was able to give us a 24-kilometer canal in Delhi. And that is completely sanctioned. He's working on it right now. And he's saying in the month of July, they're going to start digging the canal. And it is to a cost of about $350 million. So we got this. And once the sewage water of Delhi, the 3 billion liters, is channelized into the canal, then they can start giving us pure water into the Jamuna.
Okay.
So
with lots of good wishes, and thank you very much for joining us here at ITV. This is Ashok Vyas thanking Anandji and thanking all of you for being with us.
This is Wide Angle with Ashok Vyas.